if it makes us more fulfilled, I should say.
That is interesting that you found that out. Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of the ideas in the book is to help you work with those, so you can choose the music, for example, over the Facebook.
You also attack the art of self-discipline, because I know when my children were growing up and they had projects, they wanted to do this, that, and the other, I was always there encouraging them, making the time to make sure they had the time to do what they do. But then once they were gone and I had my projects, that aura of self-discipline is not as intense anymore.
Well, I think self-discipline is a word that maybe we should just strike from our vocabulary.
Okay.
Because it makes us feel like rebels. I mean, honestly, there is research that shows using the word I don't go to Facebook until I practice my music is more effective than I can't. And when we think about self-discipline, we tend to be then rebelling against ourselves and our deepest desires. So what I coach women to do in my programs and in this book is to keep finding that yes for what you really want, and get out of the being at war with yourself through, like, oh, I know part of me is being pulled toward the chocolate, but part of me is being pulled toward the piano. I'm going to listen to the piano pull.
But so you can eat chocolate and play the piano at the same time.
Yes, you can. That's true. That's true. I'm sorry. That was a bad example.
What makes this different for women than it does for men?
Oh, it doesn't. Men use this book. They put a Post-it note over the subtitle. But women struggle more with guilt traditionally. That has been changing in about the last 10 or 12 years as more men have moved into child care and more equal work at home. But when I started writing 20-some years ago with my first books, I was a feminist. I still am. And what I saw was women struggled so much with the guilt of following their own desires for a life that they really wanted. And so over the years, I've spent more time and effort working with those issues with women. But the ideas in the book, men write me and say, is it okay I'm using the book?
Yeah. Well, I can actually see that and empathize with that, if that's the right word. I mean, I see it. I see it in Robin all the time. I mean, Robin will do so much stuff for everybody. Mm-hmm. And I often, sometimes say to her, or sometimes I'll think it about her, why don't you do the thing you want to do? You're taking care of that person's, you're typing that person's letter, you're doing that person's stuff. Why don't you say, do your own stuff?
Yeah. I call that over-providing in my program based on the book that I teach online and also in the book itself, over-providing. And it's part of how we're wired as women. We're wired for connection. It's really like biologically in us.
Yeah.
We have to work with it really mindfully.
So it sounds like the tips would work just as well for men and women, but it's convincing. I think we are brought up differently, and maybe in America we're pretty good at it. Maybe other countries are even worse at it than us, but we still have a way to go.
We do, and the truth is, and you know this because you've heard it before, but when you live it, you really get it. When you're living a life that's more true to you, you are so much more able to connect and serve the people around you, and not from that place of martyrdom or resentment or resignation.
So how do we use the book? The book is called The Life Organizer. Is it, because I do not have a copy of it, is it a workbook? Is it a learning book? How do we use it?
Let's not say workbook. That sounds
okay.
awful.
Is it a task book?
It's a playbook.
A playbook, okay. All right.
So the first section talks about the different, what I call life organizer concepts, and we've touched on some of them here. And it just briefly introduces them so you get an idea about something like shadow comforts and time monsters. And shadow comforts are the things we do, and time monsters, rather than what would really recharge us. And we've been talking about that, the chocolate or the Facebook instead of playing the piano or going for a long walk. And then there's many other concepts that I address. And then there's 52 weeks of questions, mindful questions, to play with, to start listening and taking action in really small ways to live a life that's more true to you.
And that's really important, too, are those two words that you just said, take action, because sometimes people will get to that point and then they don't do the action and then they, fall apart and say, oh, woe is me.
Yes, and then we go buy another self-help book.
Right.
Yeah, right.
So now I'm a very practical person, and so all of my work is really looking at both neurobiologically from a body standpoint, from a brain standpoint, how can we create change, but also from a spiritual standpoint, from tapping into something larger than you. It doesn't mean you have to believe in anything, but we all have an experience that something bigger than us is going on. A sense of awe when we're in nature, when we're in love, when we're raising a child, when we're petting our dog.
Yeah, how many?
So I try to bring those both together.
How many times have we experienced this? That you'll one of the things that I haven't done in forever, but it's going to the river. We live near a beautiful river. And
I know where you live.
Do you? Where are you? Where are you right now, Jennifer?
I went to school at the University of Florida long ago.
Oh, okay.
I know that land.
Okay, so we have the Rainbow River and with all those beautiful rivers around here, right?
Yes, the spring-fed rivers.
Okay,
Oh,
so I'm glad you know it. So then you know the joy of just getting in an inner tube and just killing 4 hours floating, right?
Yes.
So how many times have we done that and said, how come I don't do this more often?
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I coach people to do is create a list of those things, because when we're turning to the shadow comforts, to the Facebook or the online gaming or the solitaire, often our creativity is really shut down. So sometimes women and men, they'll write down little ideas of float down the river on an inner tube, and they'll put them in a glass jar. And when they know that they don't want to go towards the shadow comfort, but they don't know what they want, they'll reach in that jar and pull something out and go do it.
And you know what's weird? If you're getting your tires changed at the car deal or at the tire shop or whatever, you've got to wait. You have no choice.
Yeah.
So that's really down. It's like, this is cool. I get to sit and do nothing. I get to sit and look at a magazine or watch it. And you're right. I think we feel guilty about doing nothing sometimes.
And doing nothing is probably one of the things that people are most hungry for. And it can be one of the most transformational self-care practices. And doing nothing doesn't mean necessarily reading a magazine. And it doesn't mean meditating. It means allowing yourself to just sit and relax and be and notice what you notice. But we get so hyped up from our hyper alert, hyper busy lifestyles that it can be very difficult to let ourselves sit.
But that goes down to choice, because when you're at the tire store, you don't really have a choice because you have to wait. But if you are actually subconsciously making a choice to do something that might be non-productive, you might feel guilty about it.
Right. So sometimes one of the things I tell women and men is to build a bridge to the life that you want. We can't go from 0 to 60. So if taking care of yourself or listening to your heart or following your desires sounds like woo-woo, impossible, then okay, well, next time you're stuck somewhere, at least choose to do exactly what you want during that time. And that's one of the ways we can start to build a bridge to a life that really fits us.
I love that.
Yeah, the biggest regret of the dying is I didn't live a life that is true to myself.
Yeah. And so many times you hear that, I don't know if it's cliche to the point where it's cliche, but they'll say, the hyphen between the birth date and the death date, everything that you've done, that's the important part of the life. That's the thing we're in right now.
Yeah, we forget, and we don't realize, I think, that it's our work of this life to choose that hyphen, and not to let someone else choose it for us.
Yeah. Well, and that's the Life Organizer now takes on a new meaning for me looking at the title. And you're right. And mindful year. I love that phrase. A mindful year. Mm-hmm. We're going to be mindful this year. Right?
Yeah, it'd be nice to be present for the hyphen.
Yeah, right.
You also relay true stories from women?
Yes, one of the things that I love about the book, I love everything about the book, it's a beautiful book, everybody, is that there are short stories throughout the book of women who have used the ideas in the book, because the book has had other forms over the years. It's been tested in different forms by tens of thousands of people. And so there's wonderful stories about women discovering different parts of how to navigate your life this way, how to listen, how to trust, how to be in the unknown. Another myth that we have about life is you make a plan and you follow it and you always know where you're going. I don't know anyone who's ever lived their life that way. We need to get rid of that myth. Life is messy. Life has a lot of not knowing. And so the book is really built to help you navigate real life, which is, oh my gosh, I don't know if I want to stay home or if I should go to my friend's baby shower. I'm tired. How do I check in and make that choice? How do I make the choice whether I want to date that guy or not? All those things, the book's tools are built to help us listen and navigate.
Wow. I'm at your website, by the way, and first I thought you really canoed around the world, and then and then I see you canoed 300 miles. That's still pretty amazing. 300 miles.
I was a lot younger.
Where was it? Here? Was it somewhere in Florida?
No, it was up in Quebec.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, I'm loving this conversation, Jennifer. I went to your website. Let's see. I use jenniferlouden.com.
Yes, and then /Life Organizer, and there's a free app that you can download from that page, Jennifer Louden /Life Organizer. And if you're technological people and you want an app to go with the book, it's a great way to really live the concepts and keep them at your fingertips.
All right.
How do women know to trust their instincts and their own decisions, that's the right one?
By not equating trusting your instincts with getting the right outcome. Again, one of the myths we have is if I listen to myself and I take action on what I hear and it doesn't work out the way I wanted, I can't trust myself. That is a lie. You know something more once it doesn't work out that you can then take in and act on the next time. So self-trust is about listening to yourself and making the best choice you can, and then not rewriting history and pretending you know what you know now back then.
Wow.
So self-trust is a practice, and we want to be perfect at it, and we want everything to work out the way we hope it will, and that's not life.
You know, there was a story in the news this morning, and it was about a man who became a widower on December 30th. And he was at a restaurant eating out for the first time. His wife passed away. They had been married 45 years or something like that, and his wife passed away, like I say, a couple weeks ago. And so he was eating for the first time by himself at a restaurant. And he saw a young couple, and the young couple reminded him of himself and his wife when they were younger.
Right.
And so he wrote a note on a napkin that told the couple this, and then he just went ahead and paid for their meal, which is, it's a wonderful thing. And I love the story, but what I'm bringing this up for is some of the comments under the story. You know how we can do this nowadays with the news? You couldn't do it with newspapers, but with online news. So underneath, you see some comments. Oh, that was sweet. Oh, man, it's making me cry. Oh, what a wonderful thing. And every once in a while, you hear somebody go, I've seen too many of these lately. I'm starting to not believe this. And I'm thinking, now, why wouldn't you believe that a man spent, $40 maybe to pay for somebody else's meal?
Yeah.
Why would that be so hard to believe? And the reason it comes to mind, Jennifer, with you is because I'm looking at your website, and under your name, almost as like a motto, it says "Savor and Serve."
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yes, there's a quote by the essayist and former New Yorker editor E.B. White. It's actually a misquote. No one knows exactly what the quote is, but it's I wake up in the morning not knowing whether to save the world or savor the world. And it makes it hard to plan the day.
Oh, wow. Oh, so that's where it came from.
Yes, and what I want to do in my work, the essence of my work, is how do we do both? Because mindfulness is really savoring, and more research shows that when we can savor life, when we can savor the tastes and the hugs and the moments, we change our brain to be happier. And more research shows that happy people are the people who serve something bigger than themselves, that they genuinely care about. It can't be fake or martyrdom. It could be anything from cleaning up a river to being a good parent, but you have to have something bigger than you, and you need both.
Wow.
So that's the essence of my work.
You are a philosopher, a deep thinker, and it gives whole new meaning to the word, the title, The Life Organizer.
Oh, good.
What a wonderful conversation. I hope it's okay that we went a little bit long, Jennifer.
You bet.
Thank you for being on the air with us. The website I went to is Jennifer's name, jenniferlouden.com, Louden. It is on the WOCA.com website if you want that, or just call us. We'll be glad to repeat it. How else do we get the book?
Oh, it will. It's at Amazon, and it will. It's trickling into the bookstores. Takes a while to get it out there. but it's at Amazon right now, and it's also at my website if you wanted to get a copy there.
All right. It's only the 15th day of the new year. It's not too late to get started making this.
No, not at all. You can start this book anytime. It's very flexible.
And is the artwork in your book yours?
No, it's not. It is an artist. It was interesting. She was in a gallery here on the island, and I had stopped, was out doing some errands, and I saw it, and I walked in, and I said, I really would love to meet her, and she ended up using the same art for the book, and her name is Alicia LaChance.
Wow, that's
wonderful. I wish it was my artwork.
Well, you're working together to bring something wonderful to the rest of us. Jennifer, thank you for being on the air with us today.
You bet. Thank you so much for having me.
Really good interview. We'll take a little break and we'll be right back.
You're listening to WOCA News Talk 1370, Ocala's source for what's happening in today's hottest, up-to-date news and topics.
Hi, I'm Yvette, and I'm here to tell you a few things about ABC Fredericks Appliance. They sell not only new, but used guaranteed appliances. When you call ABC Fredericks Appliance, they will provide service on what they sell and any appliances that you own. ABC Fredericks Appliance is located in Bellevue, right over the railroad tracks. Call 352-629-5181. That's 352-629-5181. That's 352-629-5181. ABC Fredericks Appliance.
Hi, I'm Leah Caruso with Strive Rehabilitation, inviting you to join me Thursday at 11 a.m. for Health Matters. Ocala Health and Strive